Hi, this is Dee at Aloha Astro, and we are looking at a new moon in Cancer, June 25th, 2025. It's going to be occurring at 6:31 a.m. Eastern Time at 4 degrees 8 minutes of the cardinal water sign of Cancer. Let's take a look at the forecast. There's a lot. The new moon in Cancer, Wednesday, June 25th, gives you the encouragement to improve family relationships or to deepen your connection with friends, coworkers, and neighbors in a more materially purposeful and emotionally meaningful way, as the moon and sun conjunct Jupiter, all in Cancer, form a Yod aspect pattern with Mars in Virgo and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and Mars and Pluto take part in a second Yod with Saturn conjunct Neptune in Aries, while Saturn and Neptune square the Cancer trio of planets. Cancer is a nurturing moon-ruled cardinal water sign concerned with needs, emotions, and symbiosis. Cancer governs the fourth house of home, family, and psychological foundations in the zodiac wheel. So it represents the house you live in, your parents, your upbringing, and how you express parental energy, and the things you believe about yourself and life in general, based on the input you absorb during your formative years. Mercury, a bit further along in Cancer, participates in a T-square aspect pattern with Chiron in Aries and Pluto, a planet of power, transformation, fear, and control, putting some pressure on you to face some heavy stuff, transmute pain into healing, or communicate from a place of personal conviction. Mercury also receives supportive energy through a cradle angel wings aspect pattern involving Uranus in Taurus, Saturn conjunct Neptune, and Pluto, giving you the mental and spiritual strength to work toward change, healing, and transformation. In your personal life and in your sense of belonging within the collective consciousness of society, you may come to a greater understanding of the interdependence of all living beings at this new moon, which could activate mixed feelings, joy, sorrow, anger, hope, which could expand your life in so many ways if those feelings motivate you to become more politically or socially active, or to share your skills, talents, gifts, knowledge, or something as simple as happiness or kindness with others. Pluto in Aquarius is connected to all the other planets at this new moon, intensifying the power and manifesting ability of society as a whole if people refuse to be controlled and manipulated through fear and choose to unite and organize for the good of themselves, their family, their friends, neighbors, community, and world. The Cancer planets highlight basic needs we all have in common: to eat, to sleep at night in a safe place, and to have enough of what makes us feel good or fulfilled, so that sharing with others is comfortable. This new moon brings an opportunity to establish and work at fulfilling those material, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs. And Mars in Virgo, trine to Chiron in Aries, will motivate you to do your part to the best of your ability. So let's take a look at the sky. And okay, yes, there is a trine there. I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, Virgo and Aries are usually in quincunx to each other. And yes, indeed, they are. But there's still a lingering trine here because Mars is at early degrees of Virgo and Chiron is at a later degree. So the math adds up. Meanwhile, there are those two yods, and if you check in daily on my site to read the forecast, or you watch the video on YouTube every day, then you'll know that these two yods have been hanging out for a number of days now, and they do convey some sense of destiny, fate, following a divine plan, feeling as though there are things that you should be doing or living up to, and that there is a sense of time to take the action, time to do it, time to make do with what you have and do the best that you can with what you have. And once you get that momentum going, it's like priming the pump. And I know I'm an old person, so I remember uh, pumps and having to put some water down them to get the water pulled up. So that's the expression there, priming the pump. And that's what it takes right now with the really good aspects that are in the sky. They're going to work their best magic in your life when you go and do, even if it's just one little thing toward the bigger thing, even if you just put yourself out there and think, okay, well, I'll give this a go. I'll see what happens. And maybe I will show up at that meeting. Maybe I will ask that person out on a date. Maybe I will look into getting a mortgage. Maybe I will look at new jobs. Just maybe you will and see what happens, because we do have the mutable energy, which brings in some of that maybe with Mars and Virgo. And then we have the willpower and determination of Pluto. Now it is in future oriented Aquarius, and we've got the ruler of Aquarius over here in Taurus at the very final degree. And that also brings a feeling of, I'm running out of time. I've got to get this done. I should do it now. I should go ahead and jump. We also have Mars, that action-oriented planet in pragmatic and practical, needs-aware and problem-solving Virgo, making a square to Uranus. And there's the impulse like, do I do it or do I not? A little bit of fear in leaping, especially if you don't know where you're going to land. But there's a safety net in here. There really, really truly is, with the benevolent planet Jupiter joining the sun and the moon, moon and sun joining Jupiter, and Saturn and Neptune combined to basically give you the endurance that you need and the faith and the discipline to follow through. Everything in here is pointing toward forward motion and growth. And the square aspects that are in here that bring about maybe a little bit of, oh, what if this doesn't work? Or actually, I look at the shadows that are in here right now, particularly this T-square. This is an I've had enough kind of an energy with Mercury and Cancer squaring Chiron, and Chiron in turn squaring Pluto, Mercury and Pluto opposing. This is literally a pry bar saying, this has been hurting too long. This has been not good for too long, and I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I'm going to look at how to make things better. I'm going to direct my energy and attention toward something more constructive than being stagnant, stuck, putting up with bullshit, hurting, no matter what it is that is oppressive in some way, whether it's something you've created or whether it's external. This is, I've had enough energy. And even the Mars squaring Uranus, while Uranus is in that final degree, getting ready to move into Gemini in the first week in July, can be a real desire to finally break free of something. For some people, it might be a habit that, just a minor habit, like, that's it, I've had enough of this and I'm letting it go. Well, maybe you've just saved yourself from cancer down the road because you stopped smoking cigarettes at this new moon. Or maybe you stepped into something bigger because you broke out of your own constraints and decided, maybe I should go look at buying a house or getting a new job or asking that person out, or maybe we should, expand our family and maybe we should have a baby. And parental energy is always very strong at a Cancer new moon. Some people may be conceiving at this time. If you are trying, you've got planetary blessings here. Ask the angels in and tell them what your desire is with whatever you want to manifest, whether you're attempting to conceive a child or plan the launch of a business or any new endeavor. Tune into Neptune conjunct Saturn and bring basically heaven down to earth, which is what Neptune and Saturn together can do when they're functioning at their best together. They aren't always at their best together because sometimes we want something that is much more idealistic and we have to settle for something that is much more realistic when we have those two planets together, or some sacrifice is involved in order to get what we want. But the doors are standing open with these two yads that are tagging Mars, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter, Moon, and Sun. Just walk through the door, step up and do it. All right, let's take a look at the Sabian symbol, which doesn't sound all that wonderful, but anyway, going to read through it. At a railroad crossing, an automobile is wrecked by a train. Keynote: the tragic results which are likely to occur when the individual's will pits itself carelessly against the power of the collective will of society. We all have to find our way to fit into society if we want to basically, live and get along with everybody else. The automobile symbolizes the individualized consciousness eager to pursue its own course of action, regardless of how it may conflict with the collective consciousness of the community, the train. The symbol implies that at this early stage of the new process, which began with this seventh scene, all such individual and relatively anarchistic or law-defying attempts are bound to fail. The driver may live, but his car will be wrecked. Lest we consider this phase totally negative, we should realize that most of the time man learns his lessons through relatively destructive experiences, the via negativa of the mystic. I read a whole book on that at one time in the past. I can't remember the author. It was a little bit dry and hard going, but interesting. Or even the strange occult concept expounded in some sects of salvation through sin. Well, that makes sense. Sometimes, we have to get through our darkness and process that all and accept it in order to become whole. One may speak here more generally of karmic readjustment. This will become evident as the next fivefold sequence is considered. Well, that's pretty heavy. Karmic readjustment, well, right now we do have, bombs going off in the world, and that is actually something that for a time was looming on the horizon, particularly while Mars, back here when it was in Leo, was opposing Pluto. And we still have some, like be aware of your surroundings type of danger warning while Pluto is in Aquarius. Watch yourself in large groups and make sure that you are safe. And this may still represent a risk to some individuals within this society based on what's going on, particularly in the United States at this point in time. But if you look at what else is going on in here, it is the unification of the people. There's more power in the people right now than there is power within the government, but that is not something that is fully, it's not showing its full manifestation, but it's an awareness that's coming into being. And that can make a huge difference. The equation is still playing out, and the planets will still continue to move, and there has to be a number reached and a momentum to create the positive changes for the better. And sometimes things have to become more noticeably extreme and uncomfortable for people to say, this hurts. How do we stop this? How do we solve this problem? How do we make things better? So I would much rather be looking at individual natal charts and relationships than looking at what's going on in the world and what's going on in politics and looking at politicians' charts. I did take a little dive into Trump's chart and King George, just wondering if maybe there's some reincarnation story going on there. Years ago, just looking at Trump's chart and looking at that family portrait of them in that very gold room, I said, well, it's obvious he wants to be a king, obviously. And now we have this whole growing movement, No Kings. And that is literally the oppositional energy to the expression of power from. I'm just going to stop right there because I don't want to get into that. But sometimes I also don't like to kind of know that I was right along the way because I would have rather have been wrong. But there always is a divine order to things. And I see that a lot, like in relationship astrology, that it isn't about the length of time at all. It's about the quality of time and the lessons learned. And all relationships are valid. And that very often, I can already see what might be coming and that maybe this is not going to be the forever couple. And it's not always easy when somebody still very much wants to have that relationship. And there's often a reason for it. And, soul contracts don't have to be lifelong. It can simply be something like people need to get together to have the fight, to have the forgiveness, to have the release, to burn that karmic ribbon, and to move on. Sometimes it is not about happily ever after. And there are bigger stories going on within the world stage and the collective consciousness and the evolution of society to reach the higher level that is indicated in here right now with these three outer planets that are going to be doing this do-si-do with each other for a while. Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and Uranus right now hanging out between Taurus, moving into Gemini. But that minor grand trine will be at play, basically saying, get up to a higher level. It's time to be at a higher level, which requires something that's going to motivate people to rise up and come up to a higher level energetically. The more clear you can become in your feelings and your intentions under this Cancer new moon, the more powerful you will be in terms of manifesting what you desire. And yeah, that's just basic, how to manifest 101. But it also has the potential to send ripples out into society in a bigger way. The more powerful you become as an individual, the more you can contribute, and the stronger you become, and you're more of an asset to the world at large. And you can also expand your aura and energy field to influence. Start small, expand a couple of feet, then go a couple of yards, then see what it feels like to move that energy out a couple of miles, then imagine that it can circle the whole globe and hold that energy. Particularly when you can do that, you are helping to raise energy for the collective, and you're bringing other people's energy up as well. So work with those feelings and thoughts and work on that symbiosis of energy that Cancer brings up. I've always loved the symbol for Cancer. To me, it's always looks like a mother cradling a baby. And they're so locked into each other. And to me, it represents Cancer's most valuable contribution in the zodiac, and that is the nurturing, symbiotic energy of sharing. All right, you enjoy this new moon, and I'll be back again tomorrow, probably talking about a new moon fallout because there often is. Take care.